What's up, everybody? My name is Brazil, and welcome to my podcast. Today's episode is with my good friend, Tony Selznick. Now, if you don't know, he's the co-owner of one of the biggest dance agencies in the world, MSA. And the reason that I think this podcast is important and valuable for you to watch is because we talk about the power of relationships and just what it means to build relationships in this industry. Because a lot of times it can feel pretty transactional. It can feel like people just want things from you, or they only want you when you're hot, but Tony is somebody that I've known for a while that's always cared about building careers. And we talk a lot about that, both his process in building the biggest agency in the world, and also just what it means to build relationships and ways to do that. And we go into a lot more stuff than that, but it's an overall amazing episode. I think you guys are going to love it. So here it is, my interview with Tony Selznick. I'm super excited about today's episode. My guest today is somebody who I have so much respect for. I met him actually on an airplane several years ago, and we've had some amazing conversations in beaches. And to me, he's just like a really good person with a creative spirit. But other people might know him as the owner of one of the biggest talent agencies in the world, MSA. We're talking about Mr. Tony Selznick.
Yeah, I like that. I like the intro.
Dude, what I like about you is that you and I, we've done some business together, not a ton.
Yeah.
We just have great conversations.
Yeah. Well, you're a really good conversationalist, though. I'm sure a lot of people tell you that, though.
Yeah, but you're like, I feel like in this town, a lot of times when people feel like they can't make a transaction with you, the conversation doesn't go much further. But you and I have had so many. Yeah. Let's just hang out. Let's just talk about life, about kids, about whatever, even though we're both working on stuff that like could join. And if it does, it can't. It's like, what's your theory on that, on relationships? Are you like that in general?
Yeah, it's actually the foundation of when I like the camp that I just did. Yeah. With these kids, the reason why I put the camp, it's so funny, we're just launching right into this, but the reason why I put the camp together is because when I was watching Mark teaching on conventions, I just thought, wow, as an agency owner, I wonder if agencies have a value in the convention world. So I did it as a proof of concept. Let's just see if this works. It's the only agency curated intensive. So basically what we're doing is taking a group of kids and introducing them to choreographers that we think are going to influence their future, so that if they want to be professional, they're in the room with the people that are going to be hiring them.
Right.
So what we're teaching these kids, it's about relationships, that the most powerful tool that you can have in this business is relationships. Yeah. And it's not just with dance. It's actually probably in any business, and it's probably true in life too, So that's what we teach with the camp. The camp is all about building relationships. So it's funny that's the first question you asked me, because that's actually the foundation of what my business is based on. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of times people think that relationships means getting something from the person right away. And I don't think that's it at all.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Like a lot of times, like the relationships I have don't really mature into something fruitful till years later.
Yeah, that's really true.
Right?
I learned this in business, trying for short term to get like with what I do as an agent, trying to get the most money for the shortest amount of time. But after doing that for years and years, I started realizing that people trust me because I'm honest, because I'm trying to do the right thing. And that's more powerful than getting my client more money today, is building relationship with the buyer so that they come back over and over again. So it actually has proven itself to me many, many times that the relationships are really key in business too. It's not just in life, it's actually a big part of business transactions, is being able to trust somebody and feel like you have a relationship with them.
Yeah. I was talking with somebody the other day about the importance of making reels and websites and all that. But when I actually thought about it, like my biggest jobs of the last 3 years, I don't think they even saw my reel. Yeah. I just got recommended to them. Yeah. Like I directed Disney commercials last year. I swear, I don't think they even knew of. They were just like, oh no, we heard you were the right person for this. Yeah. And it's like, it's nice to have a presentation, have a reel, have all that. But at the end of the day, when somebody vouches for you, that's...
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that too, that my biggest deals I've ever done have been handshakes. They haven't been contracts, which is so funny, because my job is all about contracts. But what I tell people, contracts actually don't mean anything, which is why it's funny. Contracts don't mean anything. And it's funny it's coming from me, because they're there to protect you. But at the end of the day, your word is it's either going to carry you or stop you from moving forward, And if people know that they can trust you, that's far more valuable. And it's funny because in business now, with emails and with social media, there's so much documentation you can do now. So the need for contracts are less and less, because I actually have all the proof in the emails, like how much money they're paying somebody, what the timing is and all that. So many times now I don't even do contracts, because I feel like No, the emails back and forth, and the fact that I've been working with these people for 20 years, I don't really need a contract. What I need is the check from them. And as long as they're good for that, then we're good to go.
And aren't emails technically legally binding?
Absolutely, they are. Yeah.
Yeah. So if somebody says, yes, I agree to this.
Yeah.
From an invoice, even, it's like,
save it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take it back for a bit, just because for people that are watching, I mean, a lot of people watching already know, but for those who don't know, MSA, I was telling Stevie about this. You guys cover so much talent in front of the camera, behind the camera. Let's talk about that. What's currently happening with MSA? What's the spectrum of people you represent?
Yeah, it's amazing. This is a whole other podcast of what we went through the past couple of years, but over COVID, we were really fortunate to reinvent ourselves in a really big way. And again, the relationships came in. What I learned over the pandemic is that you can take things away, but you can't take away the relationships that Julie and I built and my company built. So we did really well over the pandemic, just in terms of reinventing ourselves and recalibrating and doing all that kind of stuff. And we got really busy, actually way busier. And a lot of our clients, you know the story, like a lot of our dancers transition into choreographers, and then choreographers then transition into directors. And what we've been doing this past couple of years is transitioning them from directors into executive producers on television. Wow. And that's been a big thing, like America's Got Talent, American Idol, American Song Contest. Most of the variety shows out there have people that were choreographers that are now producing. And that's something that we sort of like pioneered and we've been doing it for years, but it's the biggest part of our business now is executive producers of television shows.
Wow. Yeah. And it almost seems like you're shepherding people through the evolution as an artist, right? Because artists aren't meant to just do one thing. Yeah. No matter what you do, there is a next stage evolution.
Well, that was my proudest thing about starting MSA, is that I didn't want anybody to tell me what we can do or what we couldn't do. And this is what I do when I meet clients. I tell them, like, what I love about our business is that we can grow wherever we want. That's the beauty of it, is that when our clients started becoming producers, we started becoming agents for producers.
Right.
So I'm not afraid to move in a different direction. And that's what and this is again why Julie and I make really good partners, because I'm always, this about me, I'm always out there trying to like do something different.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works. And sometimes I have Julie going, hey, remember you got a business back here. So I have to kind of be reeled back in. But then I go off and I did it through the pandemic. I created 2 TV shows that I took out, and it was all because of just sort of like having the time. And me thinking, you know what, I love MSA and I love what I do and I'm really proud of it, but that's not the end all. The purpose of MSA wasn't just for me to make a commission off of booking our clients on jobs. My goal is to create IP with my clients and create properties in the dance world. And that's really the reason why I have MSA, is because I want to use what we have to do something bigger with it. I mean, that's always been my intention.
I love that about you. I feel like I can relate to it, because that's the way I feel
You're
about
an entrepreneur as well.
Half entrepreneur, half artist. I have a production company. We do music videos and commercials. All that is fine and dandy, but it's just to prepare us to do our own thing. Yeah. To launch our own IPs, like we did now with Naughty Girl and soon with other stuff, right?
And the fact that you didn't know that was going to be the one that was going to carry the company, but it just felt like, I love stuff like that, because as long as you're fluid and you're willing to like go in a different direction, because you don't always know when something is making you take off where you're going to end up. But if you trust the process, then you're good, Were you always like this? Were you always entrepreneurial? Because you're an artist, you were a dancer. Yeah, and it's funny you said that, because I always have been this way, and I've sometimes really, it's funny because I'm older. I turned 60 this year, which is crazy to even say that.
You're looking good, man.
but there are certain periods of my life where I doubted where I was doing. It only happened a couple of times, and I never called them a midlife crisis. I used to say a midlife transformation, because I don't believe in the whole midlife crisis thing. But it only happened a couple of times where I was like, oh shit, like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? But seriously, only a few times. And it started because my brother took me to dance class when I was 14.
Okay.
And then Russell Clark was my teacher, and he became my mentor, and I was his assistant for many years. So he just like shepherded me. And then Julie was the woman that owned the studio where Russell taught. So I met Julie. So it was all kind of given to me.
Your partner, Julie. Oh, she owned the studio.
Yeah, she owned the dance studio. Yeah.
Got
and
it.
then I was married a long time ago. And when I was married, my wife back then said, go get a real job. She's like, it's time to stop dancing. And I went to go work for Julie because of that. I hated it, but it led me to the next thing. So I guess what I'm saying is that I'm really fortunate that I never had to like struggle with what I was going to do. I just always was on this path. And that's what I'm saying. Only twice in my life did I like freak out going, oh shit, like, is this the right path? Like, because I didn't choose this. I just sort of like went on this ride, and, everyone's, only like I said, only twice to like doubt it, but it's an incredible thing. And I feel so blessed. And I talk to my kids a lot about this. I've always felt really fortunate that I've been sort of like given this path, to pursue. It's wonderful.
Dude, it's amazing.
I would have never said I was going to be an agent. Like, that's so weird. Yeah, I still tell people that. I don't call myself an agent, which is weird that I don't, because I own an agency, but I call myself an entrepreneur. And I feel like in that, I was lucky enough to create MSA, and my goal with MSA is to create more with my clients. That's what I'm doing. So,
do you think there's a conflict between being an entrepreneur and being an artist?
No, it's so funny. That word conflict is perception. Conflict isn't really a conflict. When you say that word, you're talking about, do people view it as a conflict? So then you're talking about perception. Right. And that really is something you can easily clear up. And I'll give you a good example.
Okay.
In business, they've always said agents can't produce. Managers can, but agents can't. And it's a really weird line, but agents' role is to negotiate a contract. That's your job as an agent.
Right.
A manager's definition is to advise. So you advise, you get commission, you negotiate, you get commission, but they're two separate things. For whatever reason, the laws were that agents weren't allowed to produce.
Oh, legally they weren't
Legally
allowed.
They weren't. Now, the laws have changed with the unions changing and all that. So that law actually isn't in place anymore, but there's still a perception that it's a conflict of interest for agents to produce. And because I am a producer and I am an agent, I've had to deal with this a lot. Yeah. And what I did learn is it's really perception. And what that means is that as long as I'm clear with my clients, hey, on this project, you should know I'm producing it, which means I'm not commissioning it from you because I'm a producer on it. And as long as you tell people up front that that's the relationship, then you're actually okay.
Yeah.
So getting back to what you were first saying, that is there a conflict? Like the conflict is really in somebody thinking there's something wrong, but as long as you're transparent with people on what you're doing, I don't think it's a conflict at all. And I don't think that art is only for art. Like, why can't art be business too?
And why can't business be art?
Absolutely. Like
for the longest time, I've heard that conversation. Like when your wife told you get a real job. Mm-hmm. Right? It's kind of part of that same conversation of saying, well, there's art and there's business. Now, sure, you could do art technically and not make any money.
Yeah.
But you're not less of an artist if you choose to make money with it.
100%.
Yeah. So then when did you guys start MSA?
Almost 22 years ago. September 18th is our 22nd anniversary.
Wow.
And I know that because I remember.
In 99 or 2000?
2000.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 2000. And I remember the day we opened, because it was actually the day that I bought my first house in Brentwood. And I literally went in the morning to get the key to open it up for the movers. And then I left and opened up the office at MSA on El Centro. Same day, September 18th. Yeah.
Were there many dance agencies back then or talent agencies?
Well, there was, so Julie started the first dance agency ever. Okay. Julie was the first agent, and she did it at a company called Joseph Helton and Rick's. It was the corner of Hollywood and Highland. They eventually
right on the corner.
Yeah, they eventually turned into KSA, which then turned into KSR, and Julie was an agent there, and she eventually left with me, and we started MSA. So MSA was not the first agency; it was actually KSA, but we're the first dance agency. We're the first agency.
So KSA also repped.
Yeah, they were commercial
actors.
agency.
Everybody got it. Yeah. So then dancers were just like a line item in their list of things.
And there was KSA. Then there was Bobby Ball had an agency, and Teresa Taylor was the agent over there, and that was Julie's first competition.
Yeah.
And Julie was so cool because how she took it is that competition actually means she was doing something right. So she actually welcomed the competition.
Yeah.
And now there's like 6 different agencies out there, I think.
And what has been that evolution of MSA? At the very beginning, when you guys started, how does one start an agency? Was it just because you knew some friends that needed help negotiating contracts? Like, how do you go from...
Well, for us, we were already in business. Because remember, Julie already was an agent at KSA, and she was there for 10 years. So for her, it was just time to start something new.
And she had the relationships.
Yeah, yes. So when we left to do MSA, we weren't going to do dancers because we had an agreement with KSA that they would keep the dancers and we would just do the choreographers. And then over time that changed, and we decided to bring in agents to do dancers, and that really helped our company, I have to say, when we started doing dancers. Because in the dance community is where you find out a lot of information that you didn't have if we're just doing the choreography. So the synergy between them really worked really well.
It's so funny because now you would think that of course you would do both. But at the beginning,
Julie and I were like, no, we just want to represent choreographers. And after like a year, we were missing out on commercials, and we're like, oh shit, we don't have the talent. That's why we don't know about these jobs. We need to have talent,
Are there more opportunities now to make money in dance than before?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, because you're like one of the pioneers of social media, and when that changed the business, everything changed. So there's huge, this more than I do, like the way that people can brand themselves now. That didn't exist 15 years ago, 10 years ago. Like you couldn't do that.
Is MSA involved in that side of it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
With brand deals and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. It's harder nowadays I was concerned when social media first came out whether the role of an agent was even necessary anymore, to be honest with you, because with the social media influencers, they were getting approached for their own, DM'd on Instagram, like, you want to do this job. And for the longest time, it was, you can't get to talent unless you go through agents. So it was
Right.
a clear path. Then it became not so clear. So some of the stronger influencers that, that I'm dealing with is like, why do I need you? And people are calling me themselves. And it threw us off our game for a minute. But then what happened is we quickly learned that no, there are still people out there that need development and understand the relationship with an agent. And that's what we gravitated towards. And that's when our business really took off, because we started really focusing on people that understood the collaborative relationship between a client and an agent.
And there's also a bit more power when you have somebody speaking on your behalf.
I think so. I mean, some people feel that way. Some people like to do it themselves. There are reasons to have other people talk on your behalf. And I think sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's good to just do it yourself.
For sure.
I know that that's what people tell me is like, they just want to be creative. Talk to my agent about business. I just do creative, but
yeah,
you can also do business and be creative. It's not.
They're not mutually exclusive. Yeah. For sure. So nowadays, MSA, you guys rep everybody. You guys get dancers, choreographers, directors.
Because we have an office in New York
producers.
too. So we do, dancers, choreographers, and we just added another person to us to do below the line with us, which is sort of like, like production designers and hair and makeup and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, so great.
We expanded this year. Brooklyn Lavin, who's an incredible, she was an agent, then a manager, and she's now working with us, helping us develop not only more of the creative department, which is creative is what we call directors and choreographers and producers,
okay,
but also the below the line, which is all the other people that work on like the teams and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
So she's doing that with us, and we brought in this great guy named Matt Jackson, who's a theatrical agent. So he's doing theatrical now. We haven't had that, like a real theatrical dedicated agent.
Right.
And then New York, we're doing the same thing. That's incredible.
Great.
And then we also, through the pandemic, produced 2 shows, one in LA, one in New York with our clients. And that was to me, that's the most fun. Like that's when that's the most fun.
What shows were they?
New York, we did something called One Night Only. And it was one night only. And this woman, Holly Ann Devlin, that's a client of ours there. She produces and directs immersive entertainment. So she created a show with our clients. And we did it one night at the Paradise Ballroom in New York. And it was incredible. We all flew out there to go see it. And then I've got my show, Watch Me Dance, which I did here at the Bourbon Room. And that was really fun too.
Let's talk about that. Watch Me Dance. You've been doing that for how long now? Like a year?
So it started during COVID.
Okay.
But it was, I have a funny thing with this. I thought of this whole idea during COVID, and it was an animated show. It was an animated character that teaches you how to dance. And It was called Copycat. And the whole idea was that Copycat showed you a move, and then you try the move. And if you can do it, you move on. It was kind of like a game show format.
Right.
So we took that out. We didn't sell it, and we took it out for a long time, and it just didn't sell. And I woke up one day and I thought, I'm going to still work on this, even though I didn't sell it. And I still want to make sure that it was a good idea, because I didn't actually try it. I just pitched it. You know what I mean? I called up Krista and Corey Miller, Autumn's parents at Space TV, and I was like, hey, I want to try something. Can I come down there and try this thing called Copycat? And I went down there, and I had Dan Tupik was the choreographer.
Yeah.
And what I learned is that I don't want an animated character. I actually want a choreographer, because every week then the choreographer changes the theme of the show because of their personality.
Right.
So I learned that. But then what I also learned down at Space TV was that the show was not about who can lift their leg the highest or who can point their foot the most. And I thought my show is about a vibe. It's more of a club thing. So I thought I need to now try it outside of a dance studio. It needs to be in a nightclub.
Right.
So I did it at the Bourbon Room. And I had this idea. It was 5 rounds of competition. And it starts out with people freestyling and we have judges, and the judges were going to pick who they gravitate towards, like, who they think, who attracts them. And then we go from there. And in doing that, it just all happened. The progression happened naturally. And then I decided, so I'm going to do the Bourbon Room. I called Jamie King. I was like, hey, you want to be a judge? I'm doing this thing, right? I don't know what it is yet, but it's a competition. So Jamie calls me and goes, yeah, what do you think about asking Carmen Electra to be a judge? And I was like, okay, ask her. So he calls me up a couple hours later. Carmen's in. I was like, oh my God, amazing. He goes, yeah, I told her that the whole concept is that we're watching dancers and we're commenting on them, talking about our experience looking at these dancers. And I didn't say that. And I got really annoyed with him. I was like, Jamie, that's not the show. Like, and he's like, well, what do I tell Carmen? I was like, I don't know. And I hung up the phone. I was like, and I thought about it. I thought, you know what? I actually don't know what the judges are doing yet. I just had judges.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, tell Carmen that is the show. You're going to be talking. So we did one, and it was just beautiful, like what happened. And I had it. The producers that I brought with me are all clients, and they were all and I still are working with them. And Marvin Brown is one of my clients. He's a choreographer, director, producer. And he was the one that came up with this idea that the judges should have teams. Like let the judges pick a team, and then the team gets
Marvin Brown, not DJ Marv.
No, he's a
different
he's a choreographer. He's now a producer
from
director.
London.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is he also DJ?
No, there's another guy named Marvin Brown who's a DJ.
Okay,
DJ
gotcha.
Marv, shout out.
Anyway,
to him,
so Marvin came up with this cool concept, and and what I'm saying is that it developed over time.
Yeah.
So then we did it at the Bourbon Room, and it was really good. And then I thought, okay, I want to do it again, but I want to change up the choreographer. And then I did it. So the first time when I did the Bourbon Room, the first time was with Chase Benz was the choreographer, and he was great. Second time I did it, Coutura was the choreographer from Miami.
Okay.
And she was unbelievable. And then this last time we did it, then I did it another time with Aaliyah Janelle was the choreographer. Aaliyah was before Couture.
But wasn't it supposed to be freestyles? So what were the choreographers come in?
So it's a competition. It begins with freestyle, but once the choreographers choose their teams, then the choreographer comes out and teaches choreography, and whoever gets it best moves on.
Got it.
And it escalates. And then there's a twist at the end that's really weird that happened from doing it live. We realized there was an end piece that needed to be done. And that happened as we're doing it. And I brought in a DJ Bryn Taylor, and she's amazing. And she helped me develop this as well. So the whole thing was like, we workshopped the whole thing. And so it went from Chase Benz to Aaliyah Janelle, and then it was Coutura. And then we did one the other day, and it was Nikki Anderson. And it's so much fun because each choreographer comes with a whole different bag of tricks, a bag of steps. So the whole show is different based on the choreographer and their style.
What I like about that style of development is that it's iterations.
Yeah.
And you're allowing other people to add their genius to it.
Yeah.
I think, and maybe it still works, but like there's this old school way of developing projects where you kind of are alone in a dark room and you make this masterpiece and you go, ta-da, hope everybody likes it.
Yeah.
But in that case, it's like, no, you have the seed of an idea and then you add and you make it a little better and better, and then it becomes what it's going to be. Yeah.
And it was really fun because Kenny Ortega came twice, and he loves it. He's a fan, and he called me up and he's like, your show is so great, you just need a director. I was like, will you direct it? So then that's how he directed the last one.
That's amazing.
So it's really fun, but it was like a progression. It all happened like naturally.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And what are your goals with it?
So I built it as a TV show, and I still want to sell as a TV show, but what we're finding is it's a really good live show. So I'm building two different platforms for it. One of them is a live show. You know, I grew up with Jeté and Carnival, so I'm really into the club thing, and I've always loved that. But I have to say, I've always wanted more than just watching a showcase of choreographers. And when I went to Carnival and Jeté, I've always wished there was more. So that's why I wanted to do Watch Me Dance, because I wanted it to be something. I want it to be a competition, so there's a beginning, middle, and an end. So there's a reason why you go, you root for somebody, there's a winner, they win something, and then you're done. Like I just wanted that to happen.
That sense of completion. Right. Yeah, that's amazing, man.
Yeah, so you can tell me talking about it. It's so inspiring, and it's so much fun to do it. And it's really great because you don't know how the show is going to end, just the nature of the format. So it's always scary for me because I can produce, like this last one we did the other day, I started it in January. I spent 6 months producing it. So it was all the pieces were put together.
So it's not every month that you do one?
No, I don't have a schedule yet. So I just picked one in December. I was like, I'm going to do it in June. So I picked it, and I spent all this time working on it. And then when June happened, like the day before, it was like everything's done, but the ending's not done. And I'll tell you what happened. So as people get eliminated from the show through rounds, they go off to another location at the Bourbon Room. And then Sienna Lyons and Lee Daniel are my supervising choreographers. And they choreograph the finale number. And they do it with all the choreography that's happened during the show. So when the finale numbers comes out to perform, the last two contestants, they're not part of the learning because they're still competing. It's the last two people. They watch the finale one time, and then we do it again, and they have to dance inside of it. We take two people out. So we basically say, you, Brazil, you're the guy with the red hair.
Right.
Watch him. And you have to watch the entire dance one time, and then we do it again, and you have to be inside of it.
I love that, because that's an actual challenge that dancers face sometimes when they get hired on a tour.
Well, that's
the day of, and they say, hey, you have to join song number 5 on tour, go.
Yeah. So it was interesting because... So the whole point is that it's about who stands out, but then eventually it becomes who fits in. Because to what you just said, like if you're dancing in an Usher's show in Vegas, you're not front center, you're not Usher, you're the guy in the back, and you probably have to match the other guy in the back. So there's a skill to knowing how to sort of like be inside of that, you know?
Yeah.
But it was interesting with having Kenny involved. Kenny really wanted to push the fact, like he was saying when he used to direct Michael Jackson shows, Michael would only pick stars. They weren't an ensemble. Every dancer was a star. So Kenny was really pushing to have this idea about you're looking for the star. So I kind of combined both concepts, that it's it's the star that stands out, but it's also the star that fits in, because you have to be a team player, and you have to be able to match other people. So that was really important to me that I did that, because sometimes if you're too good and you're just too on your own, you're not going to work, because you're just
not a part of the team.
You're that soloist that's really good, but you're not a part of the team. And I wanted the show to come from the dance community. And then the other thing, when I'm pitching the show, it's really fun because I get this all the time. This is not the amateur show. This is not the plumber that thinks they have cool moves. Like I've never liked that. Like American Idol used to do that in the beginning, where they would have like clunkers.
Yeah.
And I always thought, like, why are you having clunkers? This is a singing competition. And I never understood that. And then The Voice never did that. The Voice only has good people on it.
Right.
And if you watch American Idol, they don't show bad people anymore. Like,
right.
They used to do that like as a joke, and now it's like the best people. And that's what I feel about my show. It's like, you know what? There's enough shows out there for people that want to be dancers, but I believe there's enough dancers to do a show for dancers.
Yeah.
Like,
you know what I find interesting, not to get political about it, but I love that idea. And I like how we all like competition shows. And I just feel it's interesting that the same group of people, us artists who love competition shows, there's also a narrative about outcome equality. But everything we watch is not about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I think maybe equal opportunity, right? Like you have the opportunity to try to be there, but all our favorite arts are meritocracy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
right?
No, that's a good point. Yeah.
And what I like about that challenge that you're talking about is that, in the real world of dancing, it's not going to be perfect. You're not always going to have, 6 months to rehearse for Coachella. Sometimes you're the last minute hire because a dancer broke his leg, and you have to come in tonight for the Grammys or whatever.
That's the professional. And by the way, that's the people that have careers that can do that, So I wanted to cater to something like that. And because I've done it now 5 times, it's really fun because it actually works, the format. And it's really interesting to see the progression of how it works. Because a couple times ago, I did a show and I had somebody cast the dancers for me. And when everybody showed up, I saw this one girl.
Oh,
and I didn't know. Oh, look at that! Oh. There's the moment you talked about. You found your moment.
You can push him down if he's too much. Okay, Brazzy. Okay.
It's like Charlie.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, so in this particular show, I showed up at the rehearsal and there was this one person, and I didn't know her, and I was like, "Who is this person?"
Oh, hey, Stevie, can you just lean the mic back real quick? So it's got into the shot. Cool. And then just double check on the battery on the red camera, how it's doing. If you want to press on it. When it gets to like 2, let's switch it out, yeah? Oh, you have 2 on there? Oh, if you have 2, then we're good. Then it'll transfer. Okay, so you're saying?
Anyway, so we're doing a couple shows ago, we were doing it, and this one person showed up when we were doing the rehearsal, and I didn't know who she was, and I was like, I didn't know who that girl was, and I didn't think she was going to do very good, and she won.
Wow.
And it was the most amazing thing to watch her win over the entire audience, because when she won, she cried, but the whole audience cried. Like everyone was bawling, because it was like the underdog. We didn't expect to win, but through the combination of challenges, she emerged as the best person on stage. And it was and that's what made me so proud of what I created, because I thought, no, this actually works. And every time we do it, that happens. Like the person that wins is the audience favorite. And it's really fun to watch how that progression is, And
I bet it feels good to also feel like you deserve to win because you put in the heart and the effort, right? It's one thing to just pick somebody and say, hey, here's a spotlight for you. But no, it's like, here's an opportunity, a challenge. We're going to make it hard for you.
Yeah.
But then they come out victorious.
And it's interesting because when I first started, I called a lot of my friends to do it. And to what you were talking about earlier, people didn't want to do it because they didn't want to be in competition. And I understand that. Nobody wants to make a fool of themselves and be on stage and then get voted off. Like that's humiliating. So I had to sort of like go to like another layer of dancers that I don't know. And they were just nothing but appreciative because everybody wanted to do it. And it's really fun because it's not it's a very supportive show. So that as people are being eliminated, they're hugging each other, and it's like really positive. There's nothing negative about it. So it ended up being a great thing. And the kind of dancer that we bring in are dancers that really want the opportunity to be seen in front of people. So it's really fun.
And competition doesn't have to be negative. I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that the word to compete means to conspire together. Right?
That's
like
awesome.
If you and I are competing, it means that we're pushing each other to be greater. I'm showing you I can take it to this level. You're like, no, well, you can take it to that level, right? And it's like, so, a lot of times my biggest progress in my video career have been because I saw somebody else do something. I was like, well, if they can do that, then I should try that too, And then boom, we need a healthy sense of competition, but not in a negative way. Not like I'm better than you. It's like, hey, we're all on this journey together. But I need you to show me how great we can be. It's like, wow, then let me try that, right?
Yeah.
You have seen so much greatness in your career, right? And by greatness, I mean not to deity anybody, but like you've seen people become very creatively successful at the top of entertainment world. You must notice some patterns. What do the most successful creative people have in common from your perspective?
Interesting. I want to think about that for a minute.
Not that they all have to be the same, but what are some common traits? And could you tell that they were going to be big, like a Kenny Ortega or the Vincent Pat, like these people?
It's funny you say that because I have two different conversations in my mind, because then there are people like Jamie King that was so laser focused on his career, and I'm just so grateful to be on the ride. Do you know what I mean? Like he's the king. Like he really just knew what he was doing the whole time, and I was just we have a great relationship and a great partnership. But he's just all drive.
Right.
And business. Like he is so, I've never seen anybody handle himself so well under stressful situations. Like I've never seen Jamie blow up. Like he's only quit 2 jobs, and he was completely sane and normal when he did it. Whereas I would have quit almost every job he's done because they're terrible. Like I always hear the horror stories. I'm like, I would never do that. It's like, wow, amazing. So there's a part of me that says, you know, if you want a successful career like that, then you do have to have like a ruthlessness about you, that you're just like vision, like really pinpointing what that vision is and going for it. Jamie is so laser focused on his vision and the steps that he needs to take to get there. He's very calculated and very premeditative about what his next steps are.
Intentful.
And he's got a very good support system. You know, for many years, he was very heavily involved with Kabbalah, which has got a huge support system and a great way of patterning your thinking and stuff, you know.
Now, Jamie, I know him from his work with Michael Jackson.
And Madonna.
Yeah,
and I think Madonna's probably the one that influenced or introduced him to Kabbalah. But Jamie, I just noticed over the years that he's bulletproof. He's got a team of people, and they all love each other and work really well together, and they're laser focused on their career. So that's one success. But then there's other kinds of success where people aren't trying to become like the richest person out there, but, you know, do cool things. And that's a different kind of success. So when you're asking me that, there are different things. Like,
let's talk about them. Yeah.
Like Tony Testa.
Okay.
He's one of the most creative people that we've ever met. And I laugh when I even say his name, because he just will derail you all the time. Like you think you got him. You're like, hey, I got you this job. And he's like, no, I don't really want to do that. Tell him thank you. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, oh, I'm going to Greece to work with the director for 3 months. Like, you are? How much are you getting paid? I'm not getting paid. I'm going to shadow him for 3 months. Like, how can you afford to do that? You know, but that's the path that he's on. Do you know what I mean? And everything he does is for artistic reasons, and he's very successful, but he's got a whole nother agenda. So different people have different agendas. So when you talk about like, what do I see? I don't necessarily know if there's a common thread, because there are different kinds of genius out there and different kinds of.
And those are also different value systems for success, right? Like if somebody's goal was to say, I'm going to make as much money as possible with my art, then you would shop it differently than if you were to say, I want to be more of a purist or whatever, which doesn't mean it's going to take you away from money. It's just a different path.
No, 100%.
Right? Like having the foresight to say, you know what, I'm going to take 3 months to not get paid.
Yeah.
And to just shadow somebody.
I know.
What you're really doing is R&D, right?
Yeah.
Research and development for your next. In big companies, like, you know, in pharmaceutical companies or whatever, they have a budget for that. They say, hey, here's how much we're going to spend on figuring shit out. Yeah. But as an artist, sometimes we're expected to just, everything must work all the time. And it's like, no, some projects have to lead to something else, right?
Yeah.
What about like dancers? Is there any particular traits that you've seen?
I mean, I do think that focus has a lot to do with it.
Here's something. What are some, you don't have to say names, but just from a behavioral standpoint, what are things you've seen that have ruined people's careers?
Okay. I'm gonna take
go ahead. Because I'm really appreciative of your perspective.
Okay, so you just asked me, what are things that ruin careers?
Yeah, like people who had potential and then,
Ego. And I'm sure that this comes up in a lot of conversations that you have with people, that I've seen ego just kill most careers, actually. And and I talk about this in the camp that we do, is that, you know, you can be the best dancer in the room, but if you're an asshole, like that's gonna come before you, and it's gonna eventually catch up to you. So, and I've seen that happen so many times, where diva dancers, diva choreographers, they think that they're everything, and then at the end of the day, people just don't want to work with you anymore. So your career ends up, you know, dusted, and people just don't understand what they did. But it's like you weren't even nice to people. Like, people don't understand how important that is in careers, you know?
Yeah, they think that talent is all they need.
Yeah, it's so much more than that.
Do you think the ego is necessary for a part of greatness? Like, do you think that some of the people that are the stars need some level of ego? And then how do you balance that with also being nice? Like, do you think the people that are the greatest feel that they're the greatest? And they're like, yeah, I'm the shit. Like, do you think you think that's necessary? Or have you seen people that are at that level who don't feel that way?
Yeah, you're so funny. You're really just making me think. Like, no, it's funny because I don't think you have to have an ego to be successful. But if you're asking me if I know anybody without egos that are successful, I'm also going to say I don't think I have. You know, and this is so multi-layered. It's like an onion. This conversation, because I don't think ego is a bad thing. Ego isn't right. Like, at first look, ego is looked at as a negative thing, but ego also just means confidence too, and it also means like, self, taking care of yourself, and
the concept of I. Right?
Yeah. So I don't know if that's a bad thing or not.
Because you've also met people early on in their careers, and you've seen them and helped been a part of their journey coming up. At this point, are you surprised when you see people make it, or do you know off the top, like, oh, this person in a few years they're gonna get it? Like, or
that's usually the case. But I started doing this like years ago, where I like to be proved wrong. Like, there's a lot of people that I'm very transparent and saying I was wrong. I thought that they weren't going to make it, and they did. And I like.
What do you think changed between you? Do you think you had the wrong perception to begin with, or you think they stepped it up?
I think my perception was probably wrong. Yeah, and I think that you can change your mind too.
Yeah.
But there's many times when I was like, oh, I was wrong, and I like that. I like to be able to say, you know what, I was wrong. I was wrong about that.
Yeah.
Because I'm a Leo too, so Leos are very strong-headed, and ego really runs a lot. So I'm constantly, and it's funny because when I was studying Kabbalah, because I did for a while, and it's great, but one of the things that they had just taught you is about Leos is that your pride and everything, and I thought, how funny that I'm an agent and that I'm a Leo, because pride is everything to a Leo, and this is like, as an agent, you have to be really careful that it's not about you, because your pride can actually kill a deal, can kill the relationship with a client. Like, it's not supposed to be about you. It really isn't. So I thought, how interesting karmically that I chose a career where you have to constantly check your pride, constantly. Right. Like, any trouble I've ever gone into in my business has been for me letting my ego take over. Like, any conflict I've ever gotten in, if I look back at it, that's just me pushing my agenda because of my ego.
The biggest problems I've gotten into in my career have been, for me, taken on too much because I was in a scarcity mindset, or, like, where I felt that I was low on money or short on opportunity. And I said, you know what, I got to say yes to everything. Yeah. And then I give some things my 100% and other things not. So it created like an inconsistency in my reputation. Yeah. Where some people thought, oh, wow, Brazil's amazing. Other people thought, oh, man, his edits are super late.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, and I was thinking back to like, what leads to that, right? Like, what could I learn from that? And it's to understand what context I'm operating in. Because when I'm operating in scarcity, my decisions are fear-based. And I'll say, yeah, I'll finish this edit for you. Not even check in my schedule to see that I have 4 other things going on or whatever, right? And that's all from a sense of being a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, it was on that side. It was, just trying to please everybody and then failing.
Well, you and I also had a conversation years ago that I remember, because you're a Libra.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was studying astrology, that the difference between Leos and Libra, and we had this conversation. It was so clear because something happened and I forgot what it was, but I took it personal.
Yeah.
About what happened. And you were saying, from a Libra standpoint, you feel for them and you want to make it better for them, because you felt bad that they're upset, whereas a Leo would just get attacked, and I would then go in defense mode because I don't like the way they're treating me, and you would look at it as, oh, what can I do to help them, because they must not be in a good place. And I thought that is such a difference between Leo and Libra thinking, and I remember that about you from a long time ago, and I do see that's the way you lead a business too. You don't, like, your emotions don't lead in front of you. You're very good at sort of like being able to, like, if you are upset, you don't know it right away, and you don't operate through fear or through anger or something like that. And there's a lot of people that do. I know a lot of people that do. And in my business, in the agent world, a lot of us do, because on the phone, you lash out, before you know it, you're in arguments and stuff like that. I learned a lot from being on the phone with people. Like, you know, like it's a talent. It's a talent to be able to not take things personally.
Yeah.
It's the 4 agreements. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Like that book, I always have to go back to because I do all 4 of those things wrong every day. 4 agreements. Don't think things personally. I take everything personally. Don't assume. That's all I do is assume. Be impeccable with your word. I'm not at all.
Yeah.
And then the last one's always do your best. I don't even know if I do that. So
yeah,
it's like, I have to constantly remember those things.
And then it's like, what is our best? What does that even mean? To do our best.
I mean, to me, I guess doing your best just means that you just give it your all. Like you just do, you know, like try the best, try as much as you can that you're able to do at that time.
What do you think caused you to not be at your best on the days that you're not at your best? If you could audit it.
Laziness. Like just not wanting to. Yeah.
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 I feel that.
Stubbornness, you know?
So then when we're saying we should be at our best, for me, what I'm trying to work on are the causes that cause me to not be at my best, right? Like I try to think of, okay, what are, you know, the projects that I do well, what do they have in common? And the projects that I didn't do so well, what do they have in common? Because it's like doing my best, I feel like I did the best I could do that day, but maybe I didn't set the day up to win to begin with. Maybe I was up too late the night before. So then that's not really doing my best either. I'm doing my best considering I'm hungover, but that's not really doing your best. Doing your best is not being hungover, right? It's like there's layers to what it means to prepare to do your best.
I learned a long time ago that sleep is crucial for me. If I go through a night where I don't sleep very well, I have to remember not to engage in any fights because it's like I'm just like this. I'm ready to go, and it's my daughter that actually taught me that, Scarlett, because when she was really, really young, when something would go, like when I would need her the most, she doesn't respond to that. Like if she felt me needing her, she would be like that, and it used to drive me crazy that I couldn't like get the response I wanted from her, and I had to sort of like just go, oh, like that's who she is. And I learned later on, like when I'm sleep deprived, I'm really needy and I need people to react a certain way. And I've had to train myself to like not judge anything. Like if I didn't sleep last night, I was here right now, I'd have to remember, like, don't get in a fight with anybody. Don't take things personally. Don't get mad if Mark doesn't, you know, say hi to me when I walk in the room. Don't get mad if my kids are me. Like everything you have to, you know, so.
Shit, I got to work on that.
So it's something I just recently learned. It's like sleep is everything. Like if I have enough sleep, I'm sane. If I don't have enough sleep, I have to make sure that I shut down.
I can relate to that. That's something I've been working on recently too, because I feel that sometimes I overextend myself. So then I overwork and then I'm extra tired the next day. And then I'm more demanding on my team. Then I'm like, well, you guys need to fix this. And and it's like, then it's like if people don't react right away, then I feel myself getting extra like, I don't know, kind of stabby with the way I talk. And then I realize, wait a minute, this is because I feel like I'm slaving myself more than I need to. So then I expect you guys to be like robots for me, and that's not fair.
Yeah.
That's
and
not
if
the
you
right
were
way.
well rested, your mindset probably wouldn't have gone to that, you know? So that was something I learned.
Yeah. Well, that's why today I did my workout early. Today I went and I already had my chicken sandwich, already had my smoothie.
Well, you know what? I have this really funny thing, and my people at my office laugh at me because over COVID, there's nothing to do. So I would go to sleep early and I get up really early. Like I love it. Like I was not necessarily a late person, but I go to sleep stupid early now and I get up stupid early. And
How early do you get up?
I'm up at 6:15 and I spin every day in my garage, and then I go to the gym and then I go to work and I do it every day. Mark does that. Mark doesn't spin, but we both like work out every day.
That's the way to do it.
I mean, but I have to tell you something, as you get older, it gets harder when you stop. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing it consistently. Cause like, it wasn't like this, you know, years ago, but like if I don't work out one day, the next day I just really don't want to do it. Like it gets harder and harder and harder. So the easiest thing is just to be consistent.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make me go to bed really early, and people in my office laugh at me because they know like it's, you know, like by 9 o'clock, something like that. And I remember Carrie from Carnival, Carrie Sice, like called me, you know, a couple months ago. I was like, are you going to come to Carnival tonight? And I was like, can I be honest with you? It's like, it is so past my bedtime. Like, I'm so sorry, but I'm not up that late anymore. Like,
I was going to say, so do you not go out anymore?
I do, because the thing is, when I do go out, I do drink socially. So I definitely want to, like, I'm not going to go out and go to Carnival and not have a drink. Like that's not going to happen. But then if I do go out, then I just have to know the next day I'm going to be really tired. So I just sort of like, it's just like a concession I have to make. So if I do
you still
go
get
out,
up early? If you go up to
I can't sleep in. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But if I go to bed at 3 a.m, I'm still up at 6. I don't know why, but it just,
It's a circadian rhythm. I feel like that kind of is from what I've heard, and I don't know shit, but I've heard that even if you stay up later, you should get up at the same time. And then if you need to, take a nap in the middle of the day. But having the same time to wake up, it tells your brain and your body when to release the
I don't know, but
whatever.
It's really affecting me. It's really funny because now I'm sort of just used to this thing where, Mark sleeps way longer than me, but sun comes out, I'm up, I'm doing all these things.
Yeah.
And then like for this podcast, we were going to do it at 6 o'clock, but I was in Hawaii last week. So when I looked at my calendar, it said 3. Because it was the time change. Yeah. So I thought, okay, 3, cool. I'll be home by 6. So yesterday when I looked, it was like 6 o'clock, and I told Courtney, I was like,
oh, it's bedtime.
It's like bedtime. Like, that's late. So we both laughed at it, right? Yeah. Then I texted her back. I was like, can you just ask if we can go earlier? And she laughed at me. It's like, they're not going to be able to go earlier. And then when you said you could do 3 o'clock, she texted me back. She goes, how did you know? I said, Courtney, if you don't ask, you won't know. So who knows? Maybe he could do an early.
Well, a lot of people I interviewed, they have projects going on during the day, so I figure I try to make it easier. You know what I mean? But I like talking earlier too. I have a peak of energy.
I tell people that, like when you text me saying I'll see you soon, I was like, it's nap time. It's kind of it's gonna be dinner time, then bedtime.
Man, it's good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. Yeah.
So much has happened.
Yeah.
Over the last few years, right? So much life, right? Like your kids have grown up. We were just talking about that. How does that feel?
It's amazing. No, it's amazing. I'm friends with my kids. We're friends now, and I've always loved them, and they love me. But like Violet and I, over pandemic, she lived with me, and we became friends. And Scarlett and I have we hang out.
That's
and
awesome.
Honestly, if I'm gonna pick like an evening socially, it would be with my kids to be social with.
I can see that for sure. My mom just came to visit me. My whole family came to visit me this past weekend, and it was the first time I went out with my mom. Like we went dancing, and we went out. Like she was like, "No, I want you to take me out." I'm like, "Mom, for real?" She was like, "No, for real." And she doesn't drink or anything. And we went to we did the regular day stuff, and then we did the comedy show. We left the comedy show at like 10. I was like, "Hey guys, there's a speakeasy down the street if you guys want to go." She was in the middle of the dance floor, like voguing with people and stuff, and it was just like.
And she didn't drink anything there?
No,
really?
She still doesn't drink. No, but it was just I loved connecting with her. It's like just to reflect on what you're saying, that a night out connecting with your kids is meaningful, and I felt the same way connecting with my family, because I kind of really don't like going out that much in LA often, unless it's like most of the times I go out for business reasons. Yeah. It's like some industry event. When I'm hanging out with my friends, I do like nature stuff or whatever, but going out, hanging out with my family, it gave me a different sense of joy at the club.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because it wasn't like I'm trying to impress anybody or I'm trying to win a thing or whatever. It's just like me and my sister, my brother, my mom.
That's awesome.
Let's go dance, and it made me happy. Family is a big source of happiness.
I feel like that comes later in life. So for a lot of people, at least it did for me. Like you appreciate those things when you are older,
Yeah. Is your family, like your parents, are they still around?
My mom is 96. My father died when I was 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. My mom is 96 years old.
Wow. Yeah. How's she doing?
She's great. She's in a home in Encino.
Does she still mentally...
She's kind of there. Like she remembers me and my brother and everything, and my kids, she knows. And like if we talk about the house we grew up in or friends that we had, she knows all that. But if I ask her, like, remember me coming over yesterday, she won't remember that. Like,
wow.
She doesn't remember. I brought my kids to see her, and I don't make my kids go see my mom because I hated when my mom used to make me go see my grandma, and I figured I'm not doing that to my kids. If they don't want to see their grandma, I'm not going to push it. But both of them wanted to see her the other day, so we went to the home and saw her. And it was the most beautiful moment because I looked at my kids, they were crying because they could see me crying. We had masks on, so I could see them crying. I was crying and my mom was crying, and it was the most beautiful thing. And I thought it was so wonderful that they came with me to do that. My mom, and then the next day I saw my mom. I was like, "Mom, do you remember I brought Violet and Scarlett over?" And she's like, "You did? I don't remember." I was like, "Okay."
Oh, that's beautiful that they wanted to go. Yeah, they chose to go.
Yeah.
Was your mom supportive of your artistic endeavors?
So much so. I have the best mom ever.
Was she a very liberal kind of supportive?
I mean, I grew up in the 70s in Brentwood, and when my father died...
So you grew up here. Oh, so you were at the epicenter of...
My mom didn't want to move us out of Brentwood when my dad died, so she kept the house, and it was a big house, so we rented out rooms. My whole life, I had boarders.
Airbnb before the game.
Exactly, And my mom ran a nursery school, and she also was a swimming teacher in the summertime. So my house was from 7 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, kids and parents going through the whole day. My mom was in the pool all the time.
Okay.
My growing up years, teaching swimming. And then she ran a nursery school. And because of me growing up in Brentwood, I had so many friends that were rich and famous. And I used to always wish that my mom was famous because all my kids, all my friends had like famous parents, Yeah. And I remember one time I ran into Harrison Ford was at a restaurant.
Okay.
And I know that his kids went to my mom's school and that he built a room because he's a carpenter. He offered to build a spare room at my mom's nursery school. So I went up and I introduced myself, and he just told me the most beautiful story about how my mom helped him and his wife just sort of like maneuver through the whole parent thing and how important that was to have someone like my mom there to give them advice and stuff. And it was so amazing because I realized that my mom is a rock star. Like, this whole time I wish she was famous, but then I've got all these people telling me that my mom like helped them so much. And I was like, wow, my mom is totally famous, like in a way better way.
Yes.
You know? So my mom has always been super supportive of me. Like, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Which is why I've been like that with my kids. And I also didn't grow up with boundaries or punishment. So that could have been a mistake that I did with my kids. My kids will say that it was a mistake, but I didn't punish my kids. They didn't have any, there was no repercussions. Like I never grounded them or anything like that.
Right. They should just kind of figure it out, right?
Like my mom had me do. Yeah. Like I don't ever remember my mom ever hitting me or yelling at me or anything like that.
Yeah, same. I think there was only a couple of times where I was just wilding out as a kid, but for the most part, my parents felt more like they were friends. They were just like helping me figure myself out.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that you had that kind of growing up too.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, they were dancers. They were both, I grew up, my mom and my dad and my biological father and my stepfather. They were all, my mom was with the Joffrey Ballet,
Amazing.
And all that. So just for me, to me, art just felt normal.
Part of
lifestyle, growing up as a kid, all my babysitters were the dancers.
Yeah.
I grew up hanging out backstage with all the lighting guys and the stage people and all that. So every time, even to this day, when I go to a concert, I feel weird not being able to go backstage because it just feels like
that's where your home is. Like,
yeah, of course I should be back there with at the front of house with the guys and checking on the walkie-talkies and you know what I mean? Like it just, I really like that. I like the culture of putting in effort to create an experience for people. And then people that are working hard, dealing with their own shit, take time out of their day to come to see a show, to come see the ballet or the comedy show or whatever. And then the curtains open and we give them an experience. That to me is beautiful.
Interesting. You got that from your family for sure.
Yeah, that's why I like movies, all kinds of art, you know? Like one of my favorite things to do with my family is we like going to watch stuff and then talking about it afterwards. Like we'll like watch a movie and then hang in the kitchen and talk for like 2 hours about that movie.
Wow, that's
breaking
so cool.
it down what we like. My mom will talk about this scene, my sister and this, and we're all just hanging. Like we love connecting about art. Like it's a shared family thing.
That's really cool.
Yeah, man. I like it. I feel very fortunate to grow up in an artistic world.
Yeah.
So many beautiful people, so much variety.
Yeah.
Just like you as a, you get to have so much talent come through your side. Me as a, cinematographer and director, I've seen so many great people in front of my camera.
Yeah.
Right? That it's just, it rubs off. Not just great because they're successful. I mean, just like awesome human beings.
Yeah. Yeah.
That happen to be creating stuff.
Yeah.
It's been a nice journey, man.
Yeah. Good.
Tony, I really appreciate every time we talk. I never feel a sense of pressure.
That's good.
I think it feels so human when I talk to you. Like it almost escapes me how much you've achieved and your company has achieved when we connect. And I always found that so
really good.
Beautiful. I think other people, not everybody, but some people, when you talk to them, there's like they're throwing their pedigree around.
Yeah.
And how they handle a conversation.
Yeah.
I've never felt that from you.
That's good. Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I have a question. How did your mom feel about you smoking weed?
I grew up in the 70s, so my mom's never had an issue.
Yeah.
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 I didn't smoke till I was in my 20s. And then
I don't think I did like it wasn't like my mom was like, you can smoke in the house anytime you want, but
right. She knew.
I remember a funny thing when we were kids, because I've smoked I was a kid. I remember my neighbor and I would smoke. We're like 14, 15 years old in his garage, and he was our neighbor. And my mom used to let me grow pot plants. So I like had one little pot plant by the pool, like it was like this big. And because Paul and I, that was my neighbor Paul, we would like get stoned in his garage and smoke would go out. She would smell the smoke, or the people she's teaching swimming to would smell. So I would come home and she'd be like, gotta get rid of that plant. Everyone's saying it smells. It's not the plant, Mom. It's me next door.
It's so incredible just watching the cultural change around it. right? Like there's still so many people in prison in America now.
It's crazy.
For just holding weed.
Yeah,
and now there's like billboards everywhere.
I know. It's really funny how all of a sudden what was illegal a couple years ago is fine now.
It's an essential business during the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I feel like the next wave is going to be psychedelics. Like mushrooms for therapeutic reasons and all that.
I mean, I hear this from my kids a lot, the microdosing thing. You know, for me, when I was growing up, when we did mushrooms, it was, you know, tripping. But now there's people doing it that aren't to do it for tripping. They're doing it for, you know, stress relief and antidepressant. And
yeah,
I know people that don't do drugs at all, but microdose, and they do it before they work out. Like they run and stuff like that. And I think, wow, I haven't tried that, but that sounds amazing.
Yeah, you know, it's so interesting the way culturally we perceive things as this negative thing, and then at the end of that decade it's like a positive thing, right? And it goes through cycles and cycles.
I mean, weird cycles, and then like Roe versus Wade, now we're back 50 years. I mean, it's so weird how things go forward and then they go back. I mean, I guess that's the nature of politics, I guess, actually, but it's just weird how we see things move forward and we see things roll back so far, you know?
Are you optimistic about the future?
Yeah, I'm an optimistic person.
Okay.
But the reason why I say that with temperament is that because I have kids, I'm deeply concerned about stuff for my kids, not so much for me. And I don't know if I haven't asked my kids this, but I don't know if my kids want to have kids because of that. And I think that that's the scary thing is I'm optimistic because if you look at the way the world always been, we've always figured it out, but it seems like it's, you know, like it's closing in. I mean, climate change, I think, is so scary. And I don't think we're really dealing with how severe it is. You know, like everybody just says the way that's talked about. It's like, oh, if we stop watering our lawns, we're going to be fine. It's like, no, that's not going to actually do anything. You know, and I don't know if there's a way of rolling it back. I feel like we're just being told that so that we don't all just like run off a cliff and jump. But
I have a hot take for that I want to share with you. Yeah. Because I was thinking about this, right? Because I do feel this wave of pessimism, right? Reasonably so. I think now we have more access to information. We're more aware of the problems. Yeah. I think before we were just less aware.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe this is just a crazy talking point. I don't think...
No, you're right. I understand what you're saying.
I don't think things have been better because if you're saying they're at the worst they've been now, then you're basically saying, let's make it great again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So which one is it? Is it the worst? Because if it's the worst, then you want to go back in time, right? I mean, if Roe v. Wade has gone back in time, right? But maybe instead of saying the world is bad, I should not bring kids into it. I wonder why there isn't a conversation of the world is bad. I should definitely bring kids to it so that we can make it better.
Yeah.
I think there's been narratively a loss of I don't even know what the word I'm saying, like contribution to the solution. Mm-hmm. I feel like, not that I have the answers, I don't fucking know, but I think generally speaking, I'm hearing so much conversation of things sucks, everything sucks, so fuck it. How about everything sucks, let's make it better.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the only way the future is going to be better is if we make it better and our kids make it better and then their kids make it better, right?
I do know like kids that are really active, like a client of mine, Amy Tinkham, her daughter, I think is 14 or 15. She's really political and really active. And when I see and I hear what she's doing, I think, okay, there's hope because as long as there are kids out there that want to make a change, that aren't just defeated, then we have some hope, you know?
Yeah. I mean, most of the people that are running the world, quote unquote, doing bad things, they're going to die eventually.
Yeah.
Those jobs are going to be open at some point, right? Like somebody has to be the new mayor, the new president, the new whatever, right? And I don't know. I really hope that we can inspire each other to be more active in solving things.
I think so too. I think one thing that we're dealing with now that we haven't quite really grasped, and I don't think we've had this before, is I think for some people, the pandemic was really, really dark time. And I think that there's a psychological deficit that's happened. That we're just starting to see what's happening, you know, but I think that it's really rooted in people being really, really scared and unhappy for those couple of years. I was really fortunate because I live at home. My family's here. I have a beautiful home with my dogs. I was with my kids, my boyfriend, like everybody was fine. So I was actually one of those people that I loved it. I loved being home. And I remember thinking, we're going to regret when things go back to normal. We're going to miss this time.
Right.
And I remember everyone was like, no, we're going to miss it. This is the pandemic. We want to go back. But I thought, no, we're going to miss this because this is an incredible thing. But then I also realized there's a lot of people out there that had a really hard time. And that's what I think is causing a lot of the situation we're in now. And I don't think we've even touched, I don't think it's not even surfaced yet, but I think there's a lot of bad shit that's
psychologically for sure. Well, we were talking before the interview that business-wise, the pandemic has been incredible for me. Yeah. I went from at the beginning of the pandemic, basically losing everything and being broke, to now being in the best position I've ever been in.
Wow,
helping my mom out with rent, paid all my debt, like literally just transformed life. Literally, I had built stuff before. I literally was like, I had situations happen to where I got evicted from my apartment at the beginning of the pandemic. Like I had loaned somebody some money, they didn't pay me back. It was bad decisions, and then right, and then so financially I'm doing great, but emotionally we were all tested so much, right? So much changed in our personal lives, right? And I think. And I'm just talking about myself. I feel like I got into a coping pattern, right? Like, okay, cool. Well, I can't go out and see anybody, so I'm just gonna work. And then I was working so much that like I wasn't taking care of myself, and now I have all these coping patterns that I'm trying to let go of, right? I don't think we even realized how much it affected us psychologically. You know, because some people are were like high functioning, I don't know, just high functioning when we're coping, right? Like just because I'm delivering projects doesn't mean
that you're okay.
That I'm okay. There's a big difference, right? And I think sometimes I can fool myself into thinking I'm okay because I'm delivering projects. It's like, well, how am I really doing? Right? Like my family came to visit me this past weekend, and I haven't had a weekend off in like 4 weeks. Why? Why? It's like I haven't been to the beach in 5 months.
Wow.
And I live here. It took my family flying here for me to go. It's almost like I was like self-punishing myself to stay in the room and keep working. And
isn't it weird how we do this to ourselves?
That's right there. I don't know, man.
We had this really interesting thing in MSA. It's a whole nother conversation, but it's really deep where right before the pandemic, Julie and I dealt with some really big blows. And at the time we had no idea what was happening, but it just seemed like the world was against us. And I really didn't even know who my friends were anymore. Like it was really scary moment. I've never had anything like this happen before. And then the pandemic hit. And then Julie and I were on Zoom for 2 years with our office, and we rebuilt our company, and it turned out to be the biggest blessing. And I remember my friend Melanie Benz said to me when it was all happening, she said, this is the universe taking something out. They're making space for something new. And I believe in that kind of stuff, but I remember her saying it. And that's exactly what happened. And when I look back at what happened through the pandemic, Julie and I reinvented our company, and the team of people that we have now could not have ever asked for anything better than this. Like we are so well built now and well oiled, like in a way that we've never been before. And it took a big group of people leaving, and we didn't know why, to make it even better. And now when I look back on it, it's like, thank you. Like I had no idea what the universe was doing. We thought it was horrible. We thought the world was closing in on us. And it turned out to be the biggest blessing, and it grew our business.
And it probably worked out for the other people as well, and whatever they were doing, because if they weren't happy there.
But it doesn't even matter, because it's like, that all the stress and worry about what was going on, it actually made us better, and it made us bigger and better than we were before. So when I look back, and I was like, it's just so weird how the universe works, because we didn't ask for it. And when it was happening, we thought it was a bad thing, and it turned out to be a very, very good thing. But how weird is that?
Because Isn't that interesting? It was like a gift.
Yeah, it was a gift. Yeah, but it was happening. We thought the world was crumbling. I mean, it was one of the darkest periods I've ever gone through, and it turned out to be the biggest blessing I've ever experienced.
Same.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it's like, so then it goes to bring up the question, and I talk about this a lot on the podcast, like, what is pain?
Yeah.
What does it mean when things don't go our way? Like, should we purposely try to make everything go bad? No, but when things don't work out, there's a potential gift in there for us to become more.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, woe is me. Yeah. You still had to get up and do shit. But now it seems like you guys are stronger than you were before.
Yeah. Yeah. But I deal with this a lot though. Like, what if things don't happen the way that you thought? Because I thought I was going to sell Copycat. But it turned into so many other things. And I'm so proud of the things it became. At the time, I was like, oh shit, we didn't sell it. But now it's like, oh wow, by not selling it gave me a chance to recreate it and reinvent it, which made it better.
Yeah.
So, we have to remember, like, and this because we've had a conversation about this, that the process is really what we're supposed to be enjoying. Like the destination is not supposed to be our full focus. Like the destination is where we get, But it's not supposed to be about that. It's supposed to be enjoying the process. And that's really what we're supposed to be doing this whole time, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and
it's really
maybe
important.
sometimes when we're too focused on a destination, we miss out on the bigger picture of what it could be.
Yeah.
There's this guy on the internet, I think his name is Sadhguru. I'm pretty sure it's his quote. He was saying, I hope your dreams don't work out and you get something much better.
Wow. Love that. Love that.
Right? He's like, I hope none of what you plan works out and that you're surprised by all the wonderful things the universe actually brings you.
That's so deep.
Right? And it's
Yeah.
like, it's so interesting because I go back and forth between being outcome focused
I understand that.
and intentional focus, right? Because you talk about like people like Jamie King, right? Or like when we're building a business, we say, no, we have a strategy. We're building this thing for this event and da-da-da. But then also let it develop.
Yeah. And not be afraid to have it go in different directions, you know?
Not be married to the original idea.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you were
So
still stuck on
important.
copycat,
So
you wouldn't have
important.
gotten to this point.
I know. I think about this all the time. Like how it's so funny how you think you're going for one thing and then it turns out to be something completely different.
Yeah.
And it's better, you know?
Yeah, I think Scorsese had a quote about there's a movie you think you're making and the movie you're actually making.
Yeah, I love that. Didn't you introduce me to that guy Gary Vee? Wasn't it you that years ago? Yeah, I remember you told me to, and I watched him for a long time. Like, just I liked his sound bites, and I liked the way that he was looking at life right now.
Yeah,
you know?
Me too. What are you optimistic about?
Everything we're talking about, like I'm like going back to when you asked me if I'm pessimistic, or I'm an optimistic person, and it's so funny because it's that glass half full, half empty. It's such a cliche thing, but I feel like it's really true. There are two different kinds of people in this world. People that view life as glass half full and half empty, and I don't know. It's like, to me, it's black and white when you see people like that. Like, I'll know within talking to somebody in 5 minutes which one it is. And as much as I do think people have the capacity to change if they want, I don't think you can change that. Like, it's one of the things that's like just who you are.
And I think it could also be conditioned, though, for us to feel that, oh, if I'm not talking about everything that's wrong in the world, then it means I don't care. And I want to show you that I care, so let me just talk to you about what's wrong.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I feel like there's some level of that as well, right? Like I've seen sometimes people get attacked on the internet for being positive about something. Like, how can you be positive when everything wrong in the world? It's like, well, shit, there's...
Do you know something? And this is like another discussion too, but one of my concerns about coming here and talking freely with you is the repercussions on the internet because of what I've seen happen this past year. And like, again, I don't really want to go into it because I don't want to be attacked, but the level of attack of the dance community, in particular on social media, what I witnessed over COVID, again, I want to be so careful what I'm saying because I don't want this to be taken wrong by people, but I've never seen that happened in the dance community before. And it's scary, and it makes me want to have nothing to do with it, which is why, again, doing something like this is scary because it's like you can say the simplest thing and somebody could mishear you and then go off on you. And there's this thing on the internet where people think it's okay just to bash people. Like, like it's almost like a cathartic experience to share your story on the internet. But it's so one-sided because if you're bashing somebody else, they don't really have the opportunity to talk for themselves. So it's really one-sided. And I've seen a lot of that. So it's funny that we're talking because I didn't know if I wanted to bring this up or not. But like if you were to say to me, what's the one thing you're concerned about the dance community? It would be that there's a lot of people trying to tear the other person down. And I've never seen that before in the dance world.
Yeah. And I think like in any industry, there's many corrections to be made.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I think from my perspective, I think we're all struggling. I think it doesn't matter where you are in your career. In life, some people have different privileges or whatever advantages. I think everybody's hurting and everybody's dealing with their own unresolved trauma, you know? And maybe my perspective that's limited, I try to see the best in people. Right, even if somebody has done something that's quote unquote
that's what you
bad,
taught me about Libras,
like,
though. It's the Libra in you that you see the best in people because that's a talent to do that.
Well, okay, like this, not to compare people to dogs, but for example, like my dog Brazzy, right? If I take him out right now and he sees another dog, he's probably going to want to start a fight. So from the outside, it looks like bad dog. But what I know is that he didn't get neutered till he was like 5. So when you take a dog that's not neutered to the dog park and other dogs see him, they gang up and fight. Other male dogs that are neutered will fight dogs that still have, you know. And so he was bullied so much as a young puppy that now when he's with other dogs, he's like, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? Who?
So funny you know that.
So it's like, does it mean it's okay? No. I want to train him out of it.
But you understand where it's coming from, which,
it's a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
What he's really saying is, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Please don't hurt me. But it's coming out like I'm going to fuck you up. Right? So I just try to apply that as much as I can when I look at other people. And I really hope that this revolution that we're going through right now can get to the point to where we get into the healing phase more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
Because everybody's made mistakes.
Yeah.
There's not a single person walking that doesn't have something that's like, oh shit, that one. And it's just like, we all want to do better.
But you brought up a really good point. Like, we all make mistakes, but in this world of social media being relatively new to our culture, like if you think about it, it's not 10, 15 years old. Now your mistakes are being like called out in a way that was never before. And that's the part that's scary right now for a lot of people. It's like, we all made mistakes, but we didn't all have people like flashing in front of us and getting likes because of it. You know what I mean? Like, let me take your mistake, let me share it with everybody and get everybody to hate you, and look how many people hate you. Like, that didn't exist back in the day. You know what I mean? So we're dealing with a lot of pressure right now to,
when you say a trans person's name, what their name was before they transitioned, it's called dead naming.
Wow.
So like, if I were to, so like if I were to call Caitlyn Jenner Bruce Jenner, right? It's considered offensive because I'm referring to who they used to be. Why don't we extend that same privilege to everybody to say, well, the Brazilian Tony today is different than the Brazilian Tony 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? It's like, I feel like I'm better than the last week version of me. I'm like, oh, last week I had no idea. This week I figured it out.
And you should be okay. Like, you said it exactly right. Like, we should have the ability to grow and to change and to be accepted and all that kind of stuff, But people really love to just say, 6 years ago, you wronged somebody. You don't deserve to be here anymore. Like, it's that strong. Like, that's scary.
It's like an overcorrection.
Yeah, is an overcorrection.
You know? But I think the truth is everybody has pain. Yeah. And it used to be to where nobody was able to speak out about any pain. Yeah. And then it was like, unleash it. And now we're all talking about our pains. And I think there's still some left to go.
I think I do too, but I think the wording in what you just said is really good. It's overcorrection, I think we're all dealing with that on so many levels,
Because there's so much room for growth everywhere. Everything could be better. The government could be better. I could be better. The food system could be better. Education, everything about our lives could be better. But I think that's why I'm optimistic like you, because I'm optimistic to say, well, we can make it better. Yeah. Like we can find a better way of doing whatever it is that we do. And
it's funny because the world does have a way of correcting itself. I mean, it's funny because when you're in it, like, I know when the pandemic first hit, not that I'm doomsday, but I thought, oh my God, we're not going to come out of the other side of this thing. And now it's almost like it doesn't exist anymore. Like, everyone's back, and we're talking about, the flu we had last year. But when it was happening, I remember thinking, oh shit, like, are we watching everything just crumble? Like,
did you ever have because you've lived more life than me, was there ever another big oh shit moment like the pandemic that you remember?
No, 9/11 was really scary.
Yeah.
Because it was just such a shocker to the entire world. But no, this pandemic thing, I've never seen anything like this before.
Like a global crisis where everybody was...
Yeah, the whole world shut down. And I remember when it was first starting, my brother called me and he's like, just so you know, you need to go to the market, you need to fill up on food, you need to stockpile. Right, and I got off the phone and I went and told to Violet's room, I was like, I didn't know my brother was an alarmist. Like, he's freaking me out. Like, he's really like saying weird things like go stockpile food and all that. And both Violet and I laughed. We're like, oh my God. It's like, Dad, your brother's just... And then I was at Soho House and I was with Philip Shabib and I love Philip so much and I respect him. And I remember having this conversation with him and he went, oh, we did that. We filled up our homes. I was like, what? And that's when I knew it was real. When I think if somebody like him did that, and then sure enough, the toilet paper thing happened. all this stuff. I never did stockpile because I still just didn't. I just couldn't believe that it was going to be like that. But it was scary there for a minute,
Yeah, I think that my trauma kind of helped out during the pandemic because I'm used to being in emergency mode and in survival mode. Yeah. So when the whole world went into survival mode, I kind of felt at home. I was like, oh.
What made you why do you say that? What made you be in survival mode?
When I moved to LA, I had no money. I came here with like 1 month's worth of rent, no job lined up, and I was more focused on opportunity to create than saving money. Which is funny, I was talking about this on another podcast, that intellectually I understood money quite well. Like I could have a conversation and sound like I knew what I was talking about, but I was broke majority of my career. I never really saved it, or if I did, I would give it to friends, whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. And maybe I used that as pressure. Maybe subconsciously I was emotionally addicted to feeling like I'm about to run out of money, so therefore I must hustle. And I think because I was so used to that, I was recreating my own trauma. And then when I would get comfortable, I would like spend all my money again. And then be low on money. So I have to hustle again. And it just became this pattern of always being in survival mode. Right. And
I think a lot of people in the dance world do that, by the way.
Yeah. You know, it takes a lot to try to break out of it. You know, I started doing therapy over the last year and going to more seminars to help me do some trauma release work, and just realizing the things that I thought were normal. Like it got to the point where my normal is emergency mode. Like I used to go to bed watching like Mission Impossible movies. Yeah. Because I was like, oh yeah, that's how life is for me. Yeah. It's like, we're on a mission. Nothing else matters. No sleep, you know? And now I'm realizing, it's like, wait, that's not normal. I shouldn't be in emergency mode all the time. That's not good for my health. It's not good for my cortisol levels, for my heart rate, for my relationships, anything. So I had this fear that I would lose motivation if I became comfortable. That like I had to be stressed. I think a lot of people feel that way.
I understand that, yeah.
I had to be stressed to be motivated. And now I'm trying to tap into motivation from gratitude and creation instead of survival. Like I still have ambition, but I don't think ambition needs to come from a sense of desperation.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, and I think that's the shift that I'm working on.
You know, it's funny, I was having this conversation with somebody that works for me, and he's our accountant, and he was talking about this stress level that he's having with some stuff. And he called me yesterday, he was like, you know, this is very stressful for me right now, and blah, 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 blah. And I said to him, I was like, you know what? You can't be this way, because we need you too much. So if you continue down this path, you're gonna explode, and we're not gonna like that. So I was like, do me a favor, shut down. Like I know I'm your boss, but you need to shut down and stop, because you're scaring me right now. Because he was like warning us that he's overloaded. I was like, no one needs you to be overloaded, because it's gonna make us all panic. So whatever is going on right now, take a step back and to get some rest, because we need you. You know, I was letting him know, like, we need you calm, because if you're the leader. If you're not calm, like we're all gonna be flipping out. So do me a favor, and like, I appreciate you wanting to work so hard for MSA, but shut down now. Like, go eat something and then go to bed, please. Because you know what I mean? We need you tomorrow. You know?
That's great that you were able to do that.
I think it's so important. I mean, I think we all have to, like, I used to call them daily vacations. I think it's really important that you spend some of your day not working. I think you have to, you know, I'm not one of those people that likes to just, I'm going to work 6 days a week, then have a cheat day. Like that whole concept of it, you know, you can diet all week and then have one day where you do, like, don't, like, that doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, why don't you just every day eat well, and then you don't have to like do the cheat day. But I feel that way about stress too. And I feel that way about work. Like I'm not comfortable with the idea of I'm going to work until I go to bed at night, and I'm going to work all week, and then this weekend I'll enjoy myself. It's like, no, you should, every day you should make sure you shut down for a minute and relax and not have to deal with the stress, you know?
And recharge. Yeah. Especially when you're like an artist or self-employed, when there's no exact cap. Yeah. It's not like I go to a job and I leave. Yeah. I could work 24 hours a day. Yeah. There's no shortage of things to be done. Yeah. So a lot of times I'm my own worst boss, or I'll give myself a week's worth of work to do and say, do it tonight. Yeah. No, that's why. Again, that's why I joke about this with my going to bed early thing, because it's really about me like prioritizing. Going, I can stay up, or I can go to bed and recharge and just get up super early tomorrow. Like I get so much done before I even go to work now, because I get up so early. Like most of my stuff is done before like 8 o'clock in the morning. Because I feel you. I'm just like, but then it means by 4 o'clock, I'm like, I came here at 3 o'clock. This is my end of my day. Like I'm going to go home and relax from here. I'm not going to go back to the work and try to crank out some more invoices. Like that's going to wait till tomorrow, because I'm going to make sure show up tomorrow. Because I love what I do so much. I want to always keep it that way. I don't want ever be that person that complains or doesn't like what I'm doing. Because the minute I don't like what I'm doing, then you're going to see it all over me. You know what I mean? I feel like, and it'll affect the company and the people around you. Yeah, everybody, like what I was saying to our accountant, it's like,
please take care of yourself because we need you.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that you're stressed out. Like that is not going to help anybody. So,
and there's also a law of diminishing returns, right? Like, if I'm making X amount of money and I want to make double the money, I could either work twice the hours or I could make my hours twice as valuable.
Yeah.
I know not everybody has the situation to do that, but from an artist and business standpoint, that's what I'm learning to do is just to make better decisions, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't have to work 7 days a week for my business to be successful. I should make the 5 days really count.
Yeah.
Am I wasting time those 5 days? Am I doing bullshit projects that don't have anything to do with what I want to do? Yeah. Right? I think realizing that I'm actually wasting a lot of time on nonsense and 80% of my money comes from 20% of my operations. Let me just do that 20 really good, you know? And
that's funny. That's the calculation that we use too. A lot of people say that with the agencies, like 80% of your business comes from 20% of your clients. You know what I mean?
Same. Oh my God. Yeah. And now it's 95% of my business comes from one of my projects, and
that's so cool. Like
dude,
10 years ago, you wouldn't know that that's what's happening,
I'm great. I feel like I'm just getting started in LA.
Do you know, I feel that way too. I wonder, I ask myself a lot, like what makes me feel that way? When I meet somebody that inspires me, it's like I'm starting all over again and it doesn't feel taxing or I'm not like, it's the strangest thing. But like when I mentioned Philip Shabib, I think that guy is so talented. And I remember thinking a couple of years ago, like I've been doing this for 20 some years. And then I meet somebody like him and it makes me just want to start right back again.
Yes, it brings life back into it. That's why you look so young.
Yeah, and it is. But it's just, I love that about the business that we're in, that we have the ability to constantly be re-inspired. Because if I wasn't doing that, I wouldn't still be doing what I'm doing. Like I would have faded out for sure. Yeah. But I just keep on finding reasons to be more inspired and like, oh my God, I want to be part of this team. Like I want to, you know what I mean? It just gets me going again, all over again.
Absolutely. Because there's so much more that we can give. Because as creators, right, and entrepreneurs, it's a giving paradigm.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're only successful as a business if you create something that people want.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's like you're channeling what can we collab on to give to the people that the people will enjoy.
You know what? It's funny with this conversation, I learned something with Mark. He goes to Mosaic, which is a church. And it's a great place. And it's funny for me because I'm Jewish. So me going to church is a funny thing. Like I've been to church now more than I've been to temple growing up, Yeah. And it's funny because I love it. I'm not a religious person, but I am a spiritual person for sure. And they had this really great speech about how we use the word blessed and how overused the word is. Someone sneezes, bless you. And he says, well, now you don't say bless you. Now you say, are you tested for COVID? But it was talking about the word blessed and that we've kind of misunderstood the meaning of the word because blessed doesn't mean you're blessed. Blessed actually means you have the ability to help somebody else. Like blessed is actually being able to share that with somebody. And it's such an interesting distinction because we grew up thinking blessed means I'm blessed, but to be blessed means that you have the ability to spread love.
To be a blessing.
Yeah, to be a blessing. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. And when I heard that, I thought that changes everything. Because then it's really not about you getting, but it's about you being able to give like that, and moving that forward. And that's where the blessing is, by making somebody else feel blessed.
But that's what JFK was talking about, right?
Yeah.
Asking not what your country can do for you, what you can do for the country, right? Yeah. And I think it feels better too. Like whenever I'm I'm definitely a really good receiver, but I think when I'm too focused on what I'm getting, I feel my vibration get lower.
Yeah.
Because then it's like I just want to get more, give me more, right? But when I tap into giving, not from a martyr standpoint, but when I'm really tapped into like creating and giving, I get more energy, right? Like I feel like when I help somebody else out, when I feel like I've given, it makes me feel better than most of the times when I receive.
I think that's the purpose of religion, because I think that that's actually what religion is trying to teach people, is like the whole idea of serving and the idea of helping people actually makes you stronger, because I'm the same way too, that I think that many times I get caught up in receiving, and I think that actually does lower my vibration too. And I think that my vibration is definitely higher when I'm not trying to get something for myself, but when I find myself wanting to do something for somebody else,
Because then we also you mentioned that dancer at your show who you saw come in, you didn't know her and she won, right? She was giving herself on stage, right? And it's like, I bet that felt better than, I don't know, I bet it felt great for her, right? To feel that like she gave her all, she expressed herself fully, right? And then to get awarded for it, it's like she gave the audience a great feeling.
Yeah.
Right? It's something about that when that's why I love live art.
Yeah, me too.
You know, like I constantly go to comedy shows and music shows and that kind of stuff. Just see somebody pouring themselves out. You feel it. You feel it in the room. When there's an amazing performer, it comes off the stage.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, it's giving.
Well, it's interesting because in business, I talk about this a lot. Vegas residencies, you know, if I was a manager, I would have my artist in a Vegas residency because I think it's the most awesome place to perform. And the reason for it is because you can still live in Los Angeles. You can go for the weekends. You put up, treated really well, and then you get to come home. And I've seen so many performers in Vegas, and the best ones are the ones that do what you're talking about. Like the queen of them all is Celine Dion. When you go see her show, she gives so much, and you feel like you fall in love with her just because who she is. And then I've seen people in Vegas that you don't get anything from. So I'm always telling like managers, go see like this person, this person, this person. Yeah. Robbie Williams was also brilliant the way that he shares. I mean, it's a different experience when you watch a performer that just gives the whole time, you know?
Yeah.
Gwen Stefani was amazing. And I remember having a conversation with Gwen Stefani's manager. She called me about a client when she was doing the Vegas residency. And I didn't know Gwen or her manager was like, do me a favor, go see this, this, and this. Don't go see this, this, and this. Because if you're a manager, you need your client to see this. And I was lucky enough to see Gwen Stefani last year, and she did it. She completely, like, you feel like you're best friends when you leave there. And, you know, and there's a talent that an artist has when they can do that, when they can actually like share like that, you know?
And I think that there's a recovery side that needs to be developed. And a lot of us artists, right, if we're going to be so giving, then we need proper personal care. Like you said, sleeping.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, not burning yourself out.
Yeah.
Because I can't give 150% 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Something is going to go bad.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's about, I want to make fewer projects that have deeper impact. I want to show up better for them, you know, instead of doing 7-day grinds. It's like kind of, but it's funny. I get my best ideas when I'm not working.
When you're not working?
Yeah.
Or you are working?
When I'm not working. When I just take a breath, I say, you know what? I'm definitely not working today. And I go to the beach. Yeah. That's what it's like. Oh, it all shows up.
I think me too then, actually. Like when I think about COVID, so many of the ideas that I got that I'm pursuing now are because I wasn't just home doing nothing. And there's kind of like, that things just grow, you know?
I think we need to give ourselves more opportunities to be bored.
Yeah.
As artists. Because I know for me, if I'm too stimulated on social media or movies or whatever, then I'm also not allowing myself time to be in a blank space.
Yeah, for sure.
To create.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, I was like, why haven't I been executing on my personal ideas? It's because I'm watching something all the time. Watching TV to bed, watching something.
Well, you know, that's actually the concept of meditation. It's kind of like just give space, you know, without any outcome. Like that's the first thing I learned when I was studying meditation is it's not about not thinking anything. It's about bringing yourself back from thinking. So when you're meditating, you're constantly going, okay, my mind's there, now I'm bringing it back. It goes off, now I'm bringing it back. So it's not like you don't end your meditation saying, that sucked, that was a bad meditation. Like it's all a process, but the meditation part is reminding yourself to come back, you know, and it changes it. Because you think when you're like, people are so intimidated by the word meditation, you think meditation means when your mind is free for a couple minutes and you're not thinking of anything, but it actually doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Your meditation is actually you reminding yourself to go to that place again. And you're going to do it 30 seconds later.
Right.
You know, but it's just
because otherwise we think of it as another thing to fail at.
Right.
Oh, I'm doing meditation wrong.
Yeah, it's not working. But so I give myself a break all the time when I'm meditating. I'm thinking, you know what? It's okay if I open my eyes. It's okay if I go pet my dog. It's okay if I break it up for something, you know.
What have you found to be the most useful way to meditate for you? Time of day, way to do it?
Yeah, well, when I studied the meditation, they said to meditate morning and night. And I can't do nighttime because I'm just too distracted by my day.
Yeah.
So I do morning. And that's what it is. I'm not.
So you wake up at like 6-ish. Do you work out first?
No, I wake up, I make a piece of toast. So I'm such a pattern guy. And I sit down with my dogs and I meditate, but I share my toast with my dogs. And this is an issue because my dogs are getting fat now. And everybody's saying it's because I'm doing that. But it's such a precious moment. I sit there with my toast and I got two faces staring at me like, one for me, one for you, one for you. And then when I'm done with all that, I open up the door so they can go outside, go to the bathroom. And then I take 20 minutes to meditate. And then when I'm done, I take my dogs and then back in the room.
Do you do a mantra or anything?
It's a mantra-based meditation.
Was that transcendental meditation?
Yes, that's actually what it was.
Is that when somebody gives you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you tried other forms that didn't work as good?
No, I actually want to. It's funny thing is like I love when I hear about Oprah and Deepak Chopra, they have
Yeah.
the, those
Yeah.
things. I've never done them and I want to. I want to try their kinds of meditation. I just haven't. But I've been doing this consistently now. It's funny, I use it as a marker. Mark and I have been together 6 years. And I know that I started meditating before I met him. And I haven't stopped one day since I've met him. So
Really?
I've been meditating for at least 6 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, like every morning. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And if I'm traveling, I'll get up and do it 5 a.m. before I leave at 6. Like it's something I have to do.
Like 20 minutes or so.
20 minutes, yeah.
Do you have music, guided stuff? No?
No, because I just do the mantra thing,
In your head or out loud?
in my head.
Yeah. Oh, you don't have to resonate it with your vocal?
No, and there are many times when feel like the entire time I'm pulling myself back, then the other times when I feel like, but it doesn't matter because I think it's consistency. That's one thing I have really worked really hard on during the pandemic was the consistency. Same thing with my workout regime. Like I never was like this before, but now
Yeah.
And I had this funny thing happen where I did spinning once a week before the pandemic. This little place in Sherman Oaks is like where the housewives go, so it was like me and a bunch of housewives.
Yeah.
Right? And then when the pandemic hit, I emailed them. I was like, hey, can I borrow a spin bike so I can keep going? So they rented me a spin bike. They dropped it off in my garage.
That's great.
And I was doing it every day and I haven't stopped. And it's so funny. I just got caught in this thing. And my teacher keeps on calling me to go on Zooms and stuff. And I actually don't need a teacher anymore.
Yeah,
and
because now you conditioned it.
And it's 12 songs. I close my eyes and I sit down for one song and I stand up for the next song. And that's just what I do. And I feel so bad for her because I'm such a loyal student and all that. But
You're like, no, I got it.
But I don't need and I actually I try when I go on vacation, whenever I try Pelotons, whenever I go, great bike, but I don't need some guy like staring at me, telling bad jokes, like telling me, like motivating me. So I have this really funny thing what I do in the morning where I just close my eyes for 45 minutes. I play 12 songs. And when I look down at the end, I'm drenched. And it doesn't matter if I go light or heavy. It's such a misconception that you have to like crank up the weights and do all that kind of stuff. Doesn't matter if I do like no weights or I do minimal weights. It's the same amount of sweat on the ground. You know what I mean? Like it's the same workout.
And I bet it helps psychologically so much too, because if you've overcome a physical thing, then when you have to handle an email, you're like, well, that's not that.
Well, it's funny you say that because spinning is the cardio part is so hard.
Yeah.
So then I go to the gym on the way to work and it's already a bonus. Like to me, the gym now, when I go there, it's not to work out. It's like the icing on the cake. I already did my 45 minutes of cardio. So now I'm just there just to layer a little more on, So by the time I get to work at 9 o'clock, I've done 2 hours of workout meditation. Like it's amazing. So by noon is my afternoon. And I'm like, I go to work at 9.
Primed yourself
I
to
crank everything out in the morning. So by noon, I'm kind of done. Now I'm reacting to new stuff rather than dealing,
Yeah.
It's amazing. But then again, the downside is like coming here, I'm like 3 o'clock is my afternoon nighttime.
Dude, the upside way overcomes it. I actually was just thinking today that I want to get back to being an early person. Because normally I've been working out in the afternoons and I always get the second kick of I feel like the best parts of my day start like 5 or 6 and then get super creative late at night. I'm like, oh, that's because I'm taking time for myself.
Yeah.
So why don't I just do everything I do in the afternoon?
Yeah.
In the morning.
Yeah.
Just literally move it up 10 hours, right? Because right now I usually get to my prime in the later evening. I'm like, that's just because I take time. I eat, I exercise, I play with my dog. It's like, dude, just get up earlier and do that.
But it is interesting because I do miss, I know that nighttime is very magical in terms of creative time. That's why I like songwriters and a lot of people work in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
I miss that a little bit because I know that there's special stuff, but I also don't, because I'm laughing about my sleep schedule. I don't do that all the time. Like I will go to Carnival once a year and I will go like when I do Watch Me Dance, like it's a nighttime thing, Once I get past like the 6 or 7 o'clock, then I'm fine again. It's just that little window at the end of the day.
But the way you're living, I feel like is adding so much energy, right? It reminds me of like the days when I have like long set days, like corporate set days when we have to be like, 6 a.m. call times and 12-hour days. Those days I'm full of energy.
Yeah.
Right. And I get barely no sleep, but I'm just like, I'm there, I'm active, I'm engaging, I'm connecting.
And then you don't even need to work out those days because your adrenaline is so high that you're,
Yeah.
So it's really funny because with this new pattern of me being like, doing this, Mark and I, one of my favorite things with Mark is like, we'll go to West Hollywood like on a Friday, but we'll go out like at 3 and we'll go like to happy hour. So we're having cocktails and dinner. We're home by like 7 o'clock. And I think about like when I used to go out in West Hollywood, I'd go out at midnight and I would be at all those clubs and see everybody like 2. And now it's like 6 o'clock. Mark and I are having cocktails. I'm home by 7. I get to watch the sunset from my house. It's like,
that's beautiful.
You know what?
And you have a nice sunset view at your house.
But it's really nice, right? That's the other thing that happened because I love my house so much over COVID. Like when in the beginning of COVID, when I would like come home and I would like see what everybody's doing. And then I look around my house, like, I I like this better. Like I don't, even if I could go out, I don't think I would go out. Like it's so weird how that happens, you know?
Well, I think you're also defining what is valuable to you and what's enjoyable to you. You don't have to be out at midnight just because that's when everybody else is out. If you enjoy it at 3 or 6, that's your enjoyment.
Well, you know, it's funny you're saying that because there's a time in your life for both. And the reason why I'm bringing this up now is because I'm doing a retreat with my office because I want to talk about networking. I want to talk about because we've never had this conversation. Like, what do we expect from our employees? What do we want them to know from us? Like, what does networking mean? Like, and it's different for everybody. But like, if we're going to send agents to go see shows and we're going to encourage people to be out in the office, and we should talk about what's this all about, you know? And I started thinking about what Julie and I used to do a lot. We used to go to like every award show. And when we would go to award shows, we would meet the production designers and lighting designers, and we would have like the laminates backstage. And we got so much business done. And I think, wow, now that we're older, we don't really do that anymore. So I'm excited to have this conversation with my staff because I really want to encourage that to happen, but maybe not from me and Julie now, but maybe from, encouraging the next generation of our team to be able to embrace that, because I do think there's magical things when you network and go out. And again, I keep on going back to Carnival. I remember years ago, Carnival didn't used to have agents there. And I went there one night and I couldn't get in. My name wasn't on the list. And I was driving home so mad. And I called Carrie, like just cussing him out, saying, don't ever invite me again. If I can't. And because of that, he changed it. So now all the agents have special tables and all that kind of stuff. And in the beginning, when I would go, nobody else would be there. And I would buy drinks for clients and I would just fill up the table. And it was so much fun for me to create like a social night at Carnival and get everybody together. And it was really important to me. And it grew my business exponentially. Like it really did work. Now I'm kind of on the other side of it thinking, it's more important I go to bed early and I get up so I can run the company from a business place, but you still need to do both. So
somebody from your company can be there.
That's really important. Like the whole, networking, being out and about is really important, particularly when you're building a business. Like you want to make sure you're at the right places and that's hard. I mean, remember that, like it's exhausting to have to be places all the time. And I think COVID kind of wiped that away for everybody, because we're on such a grind of, you got to do this, got to do this, and then suddenly nobody needs to do anything more. Now it's really hard to get people to go out, actually. Like if I do need somebody from the office to go, like people don't want to go out anymore because people are so used to just being home now,
Yeah, well,
me
some
for
people.
sure.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
That's 100% what happened to me, that I just got comfortable with this lifestyle of being at home, that I just start, so I have to kind of like retrain myself, like going to see like when we went to New York to see Broadway shows and stuff, like, you have to it's a mindset. Oh yeah, I'm out till midnight.
Right. It's there's networking, I think sometimes gets a negative connotation of like, what does it mean? You're not just handing out business cards.
Yeah.
You're creating relationships.
Yeah.
In a real world
and it's
environment.
Different for everybody. So that's why I wanted to have this like retreat, just to talk about like, what's the nature of what's the nature of that? Because it's a very important tool to be able to know what that means,
My favorite way of networking is connecting people. And then by virtue of that, I become involved in their group, right? So like just a random example, if I'm at a party and I see somebody who's like, oh, I'm trying to start a band and I'm a lead singer, I wish I had a drummer. Then I meet a drummer and I'm like, you guys should meet. Right?
You're such an agent. That's what I do. That's what I feel like my skill set is.
And then I bring them together. Yeah. Now these two people are together because I connected them. Yeah. So now when they need something, they call this guy to do the videos or whatever.
There's a business in that. It's called agenting. I mean, that's what I feel like. That's where the magic happens. Like, my biggest clients is, the biggest jobs they've gotten is because I've done exactly what you did.
Yeah. Well, it's a great way also just, if somebody's just like an independent, even if somebody's like a up and coming dancer or whoever, and they go to a party and they don't know anybody, try to see how you can contribute to the people there by getting to know this person and that person.
Yeah.
And even if it's not for a business sense, but if you connect these two together, you are now a value of the party in a different way.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's like, well, do they care about me? Do they know about me? It's like, no, it's not about me.
Yeah.
Because then they'll ask you what you want, what you do, because they care.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people say, oh, you do this, I do that, and they don't really care.
Yeah.
It's just small
talk.
They
don't want to know when they ask.
They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. Yeah. But I think when I connected people, that most of the jobs I get are just recommendations for people I've connected with. It's like, oh, you guys should meet, and you guys should meet. And then somehow they're like, oh yeah, Brazil should do that.
It's funny. I have a conversation a lot with clients about that, where it's that, you didn't introduce me to them, or what have you, or you didn't, what have you done, and something like that, But sometimes you don't realize it's the original connection that actually does create the relationship. So that's everything. Like, to me, that's where I feel like the most important part of my job is in what you just talked about, being at a party and being able to say, hey, have you met this person? Because I've seen careers completely take off because of that.
Well, it's so valuable because it gives a sense of trust. It's almost like a credit score, right? Like if I'm just Joe Schmo at a party and nobody knows me, right? But then you say, hey, you should meet Brazil, and you've done this before, right? Automatically, they don't even need to check my website.
Yeah,
because Tony said so.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah.
That's up to me to go build all that, right? So that's why I think it is so valuable what you do, right? And I think that even people that aren't agents should think in that way, in a contributing sense of networking, right? Because if they need you, they'll let you know. You know? But I think...
I agree with that.
You know?
I think that's the best way to network too, is not to do it for a result, but to do it because you really enjoy the process again.
Yeah.
And the result will come, because if people really like you and they like you for a real good reason, they're going to remember who you are and they're going to call you.
Absolutely. Because otherwise, if I just say, hey, do you need a video? No. Oh, then you're not important to me.
Yeah, right.
Do you need a video? No.
And I see that all day long. People just pushing that agenda. And it's so obvious when you see that, and so disturbing when you see that, because you want to just say to that person, like, just relax.
It almost gives me like cranky stripper vibes, you know, when they've come up and they're like, when you say, I don't want to dance with them, then they act like you're not. It's like, man, how about you just create a lovely environment, you know? It's like, that's what I was saying at the beginning of the conversation, transactions versus relationships. You and I have had so many conversations that have been non-transact. Most of my relationship with you is us just shooting the shit. And then there's been some amazing opportunities you recommended me for, but I'm not going to not talk to you because we're not working, you know? It's just like, hey, it's good to see you, man. You know, but that comes from a place of abundance, right? So I don't know. I feel like it's way easier said than done, but giving is the way, right? For your agents, for the choreographers, for everybody. Find a way to give, right? Serve many people and you'll be okay. Yeah. Dude, love the vibes, man. You know, we can keep talking all day. We're coming up on 2 hours already.
Oh, shit. Really? Hope you can edit this down to something good, 15-minute chunk.
No, this was great.
You must be bored out of your mind.
I think instead of me taking this into a 4-hour conversation, I just want to wrap it up and just tell you how much I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
And just give you your flowers, man. You've been nothing but kind to me since I've met you. Even when I had nothing to offer, you were super kind to me, and that meant a lot. And I appreciate that. That's it.
I think a lot of that comes from you, the fact that you're very open, you're non-judgmental of people, and you don't come with an agenda. And I think that's the Libra in you that just, that has this really cool outlook on life. Like, I'm really impressed with you that you don't seem to be thrown around. Like, you're kind of just on your mission. That's why when you told me what's happening right now, it's like, that's so cool that it just kind of fell into place, And
now here we are.
Yeah.
Well, congrats on everything that's happening, man. I'm so excited for you and for the next chapters of what you're creating and producing.
Thank you.
Like, man, it's exciting times.
Thank you. Cool.
So everybody, this is Tony Selznick. Check out, what's the MSA website?
MSA. MSAagency.com.
MSAagency.com at Tony Selznick. And thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Whoa. Look, they can never keep me down, I'm going. And if I ever fail, just know I'll go again. I never quit, cause I know that every loss may lead to another win. I'm going up. I bet when I land, they gon' tell me it's luck again. See that I'm winning, it's harder to watch. I'm setting the stage, you should give me my props. You ain't got no soul, you lacking the spirit. You talk out your neck, I'ma show you I'm with it. I would really hate for you to sit and watch me win again and win again and win again. I know it's probably getting on me.